keep hearing people saying, you've got to have a go. What does have a go mean? You're only going to have 30% possession in these games. Having a go to me means pressing the ball and being aggressive. You may not have the quality when you get the ball. The runners not make the right runs to cause a team a problem. But that was my problem with Newcastle last season, and the difference with the Wolves, not a massive difference. Just the mentality, or sort of maybe a little more negative than what we saw with Wolves in terms of how to press the ball and do it a lot higher. And if you do, you have more opportunities to go forward.
Are we saying then that one is wrong and one is right?
No, I think what I would say, and I've seen this now over the last, I think, maybe 6 to 12 months, there is definitely an attitude change in terms of towards what would be the more pragmatic coaches, towards what would be the more progressive coaches. There is definitely an attitude change. There's an attitude change from fans. Fans are paying more. I think they're demanding more progressive football. I think they realise that the likes of, say, Bournemouth, who are playing what you would describe as progressive football, can stay in the Premier League. Swansea can. You don't need to be 4-4-2. You don't need to be deep. You don't need to be behind the ball. You don't need to play long ball and direct. So I think fans are demanding a lot more progressive football, mainly because of the entertainment, the cost.
I didn't get the sense that Newcastle fans were demanding that yesterday.
Maybe not. I think owners are demanding a more, just thinking of their brand, the sponsorship, social media and the way in which the club's presented, are demanding more from that. I think that coaches, and now the younger coaches, probably a lot more progressive. And I think more often that players, we wouldn't have minded sitting in as a 4-4-2 and dogging a game out. I think players are far less willing to do that nowadays. I think they want to play in a team that's expansive, that, if you like, has got pockets and not fancy systems, but more progressive football, more progressive ideas. So I think they're less willing to do what would be the sort of, I can't keep running back there all the time. I'm too good on the ball. So I think what we're seeing is an attitude in the media, and I include ourselves in that, towards what would be, what Rafa Benitez was saying, I think, by saying that, Wolves yesterday played 5-4-1. We've tried the same thing today, but there's two completely different messages being spouted by the media towards. I do think it's about a difference of opinion and attitude towards what would be what I've seen as defensive coaching. I've seen that a lot in the last 12 months.
There's no doubt Wolves were more on the front foot in the same system. I don't think it was massively different.
City hit the post 3 times.
That's what I'm saying. So, yes, Wolves look more like scoring than Newcastle, but Man City look more like scoring than Chelsea. So you can look at it from both ways, really. I mean, Rafa Benitez would have wanted to think, right, I want to stay in this game for as long as possible. And he was in the game for 90 minutes. Even if you're 1 goal behind, you're still in the game. I think what these managers are worried about is actually going down 2 or 3-0 in the first half in that way. But the thing about Rafa, I mean, he's probably my biggest influence in football. I had him for 6 years as a manager. And I actually look at what you've said, and I think it is a great point about where the game's going and how people perceive you as a coach. Unai Emery, we spoke last week about how he wants to play, and that's fine. That's the way that the top teams play and the top coaches want to play. But you actually look at someone like Rafa Benitez with his actual CV of what he's done winning 2 La Ligas, a European Cup, European trophy with Chelsea, trophies everywhere. You think, well, why wasn't he actually in the running or interviewed for the Arsenal job? Great experience in the Premier League. And it may be along the lines of what you're talking about now, where the game's going and how it is perceived.
So which approach is going to be the approach for teams going forward against sides like Manchester City, Chelsea, remembering that not everyone has Neves and Moutinho in their midfield?
I think the more football moves on in the next 10, 15 years, the less I think we will see of what would be rigid, pragmatic football. It's changed already anyway. I mean, you think about where full-backs were 25 years ago, tucking in alongside the centre-backs all the time. Now they're like wing-backs or wingers. So the game's changed immeasurably. I think it's only going to carry on going in that direction. You think about sort of 4-4-2, every team I played against in the first few years at United was 4-4-2. I knew I'd have a winger. Then all of a sudden I started playing in games, particularly in Europe, where you didn't have an opponent. Then all of a sudden you start playing in the Premier League, where your right winger who was in front of you would drift off and play in different positions. It was a lot more flexible. Flexible forwards, fluid midfield players. You think about, well, what position is he? I hear a lot of retired players, and sometimes I think what position is he? What does he do him? Actually, that's the way the game's going. A lot of the modern player is like that now. And I think the coaches are changing, they're adapting with it. And I think we have less time for what would be the rigidity of maybe coaches who are maybe 10 or 15 years, if you like, further back in terms of their system and style of play.